Everyone laughed at her badge until the room went silent, and the words she spoke echoed like a verdict across the hall. From the moment she stepped into the SEAL training compound, the rookies thought she was just another officer, someone polite, someone formal, someone easy to dismiss. They didn't know her. They didn't know the storm she carried behind her eyes, or the weight of every decision she had ever made in her decades of service. And when one of them dared to ask her rank as a joke, thinking it would earn him a smirk or a laugh, the reply came with the force of a hurricane. One word: Admiral. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. The laughter froze. A single bead of sweat slid down the rookie's temple as the room seemed to shrink, the walls pressing closer, the air thick with disbelief. This wasn't just a drill. This wasn't casual banter. This was the point where ego collided with authority, and where every rookie learned, the hard way, that appearances are a dangerous thing to underestimate. She stood there, steady, unshaken. Every movement was deliberate, every glance measured. The rookies looked at each other, exchanging uncertain, whispered questions. Did she really say, Admiral? Yes, Admiral. And suddenly, the casual joke wasn't funny anymore. The rookies had been trained to endure physical strain, psychological pressure, and emotional fatigue. They were supposed to be ready for anything, but nothing could prepare them for this. The room's atmosphere had shifted from casual camaraderie to a quiet battlefield. You could hear the faint rustle of uniforms, the subtle clearing of throats, the shuffle of boots against concrete. Even the air seemed to carry weight, thick and electric. The oldest rookie, barely 22 but with a chip on his shoulder twice his size, tried to reclaim the moment. Come on, Admiral. He chuckled nervously, leaning against the wall as if proximity would protect him. You're just messing with us, right? Her gaze cut through him like a sharpened blade. Calm, steely, unyielding. I am not messing with anyone, she said, her voice carrying an authority that made the young man flinch, his joke dissolving mid-laugh. He had expected banter. He got a masterclass in humility. Every rookie in that room suddenly felt a cocktail of awe and fear. Some shifted on their feet, unsure whether to retreat, salute, or bow their heads in silent apology. She could feel their hearts racing, the tremor in their spines, the rapid inhale of air as they tried to process a truth they had never anticipated, but her mind was somewhere else. She remembered when she was their age, brimming with confidence and little understanding of what discipline truly demanded. She had been tested, pushed beyond limits, laughed at, and underestimated. And now, decades later, she stood before a new generation to remind them that respect isn't demanded, it's earned. Through every choice, every sacrifice, every silent struggle, the rookies settled into a tense silence. She began walking slowly across the room. Each step was precise, deliberate, almost ceremonial. The click of her boots against the polished floor echoed like drum beats, signaling the start of a trial. And with every step, the rookies could feel history pressing down on them. They weren't just facing a senior officer. They were facing a legacy of courage, strategy, and resilience that had defined the very fabric of their elite unit. She paused near the center, looked each of them in the eye, and spoke again, this time softer. Yet every word carried weight. Leadership isn't about being feared. It's about responsibility and the burden of knowing every decision you make affects lives. A rookie swallowed hard, his hands trembling slightly at his sides. He had seen instructors give lectures, had endured grueling drills, but nothing like this. It wasn't intimidation. It was revelation. Every muscle in the room seemed to hold its breath, waiting, questioning, absorbing the gravity of her presence. She moved toward the front of the room, her gaze sweeping across the group. Some of you will leave this room thinking you know what courage is. Others will leave with understanding. The difference isn't in strength, it's in choice. The tension built like a wave cresting over the horizon. A subtle hum of murmurs began to ripple across the rookies, some awed, some incredulous, some skeptical. One young woman near the back couldn't resist whispering, She's actually an admiral? The words barely left her lips before she realized how absurd they sounded. But even the quiet admission carried weight. And then, the challenge arrived. A young man, larger than most in the room, tried to reclaim control, to cut through the tension with bravado. All right, Admiral, he said, forcing a grin. If you're really that high up, what's it like running missions no one's ever heard of? The Admiral's eyes narrowed slightly, not in anger, but in measured assessment. She could see the bravado masking fear, the cocky facade hiding insecurity. And she knew this was the real test, the moment where leadership meets audacity. Her voice was steady, commanding, yet almost gentle. Missions are never about recognition. They're about choices. Choices that can save lives or end them. And if you think rank changes that reality, you're mistaken. The room went silent again. Every rookie was hanging on her words, every ear tuned, every mind racing to comprehend the depth behind them. The Admiral had dismantled their bravado, stripped their illusions, and replaced them with clarity. Outside the building, the wind picked up, rustling the leaves of the nearby trees. Sunlight streamed through the windows, highlighting the dust particles dancing in the golden rays. The rookies could feel the environment as part of the lesson. The universe itself seemed to pause, waiting for the outcome of this silent reckoning. Some rookies were shaken to the core, others inspired beyond words. And then, almost imperceptibly, the first nod of understanding appeared, a quiet acknowledgement that leadership, courage, and honor were not just words written on a badge, but lives lived with relentless integrity. She allowed herself a small smile, almost imperceptible, as the rookies began to straighten, adjust, and breathe a little more steadily. Lessons were being learned without further words. Respect was being earned in real time, but the true test wasn't over yet. The Admiral's eyes caught a young man near the window, someone who had laughed too soon, someone who had tried to test her patience. She approached slowly, deliberately, stopping just a few feet away. The rookie's knees threatened to buckle under the pressure, his mouth dry, hands clenching at his sides. "You wanted to know what it's like," she said softly. "To understand what it means to bear responsibility beyond what anyone sees. Watch closely." In a single fluid motion, she gestured toward a series of training obstacles outside, simulated missions, drills, and exercises designed to test precision, coordination, and courage. The rookies were to follow her lead. And as she moved with the precision of someone who had lived countless high-stakes operations, their skepticism dissolved into awe. Every command she issued, every movement she made, resonated with decades of experience. It was seamless, almost poetic. The young man near the window stumbled in awe, realizing that every joke, every jab, every attempt to diminish her authority had been naive. He had confronted not just rank, but legacy, and it had overwhelmed him in ways he couldn't articulate. By the end of the day, the rookies had been tested, humbled, and inspired. The laughter that had once filled the room was replaced by quiet respect, a new understanding of what it meant to lead and to serve. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the training ground, the Admiral stood alone for a moment, reflecting on the day. She had given them a glimpse of the truth, that courage is quiet, discipline is patient, and leadership is a burden carried with integrity. And even when underestimated, even when doubted, she had reminded them all that respect isn't granted. It's earned through every action, every choice, every moment of steadfastness. The rookies filed out. Some approached her, murmuring thanks or asking questions. She answered with patience and warmth, the smallest smile breaking through the formal exterior. One by one, they understood that the lesson wasn't about fear. It was about accountability, honor, and the quiet, unwavering power of presence. Because at the end of the day, rank didn't make her an admiral. Experience, courage, and unwavering integrity did. And in that room, on that day, every rookie learned what it meant to truly face authority and to rise to it. Closing lines. Because kindness doesn't vanish, it waits. And it finds its way back. And sometimes, the word that stops a room in its tracks is the same one that teaches a lifetime of lessons. If this story inspired you, leave a comment with your thoughts and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that reveal the unseen courage in the world around us. Your support helps bring these tales to life, and I'd love to hear from you.